Right now, somewhere in the infinite darkness of space, an object the size of a skyscraper could be moving silently toward Earth. No alarms, no flashing lights, no dramatic countdown, just an ordinary day until it isn't. Or maybe far below your feet, in the vast chambers of molten rock that make up the beating heart of our planet, something is stirring. A pressure that has been building for hundreds of thousands of years, waiting for the moment to explode with a force we cannot imagine. Nature has ended worlds before. Entire species, entire ecosystems, gone in an instant on the geological timescale. And while we like to think of ourselves as masters of technology, the truth is far less comforting. The planet doesn't care about our satellites, our smartphones, or our cities. Throughout Earth's history, cataclysms have reshaped life again and again. Massive asteroid strikes, towering supervolcanoes, pandemics that swept across continents. Each time, the survivors, if there were any, were forever changed. In this first chapter of our journey into the apocalypse, we are not talking about the threats humans create for themselves. That's coming in part 2. This time, we face the forces we can't bargain with, can't reason with, and can't stop. The dangers written into the very fabric of the universe and into the restless geology of the planet we call home. And we begin with the danger that could come hurtling from the heavens, the threat of an asteroid impact. Somewhere out there, more than 25,000 near-Earth objects, giant space rocks, are racing around the sun. NASA tracks many of them, but many is not all. In fact, only a fraction have been studied well enough to predict their paths with certainty. Some are so dark they reflect almost no light, making them nearly invisible until they are frighteningly close. We've had warnings before. In 1908, over the remote forests of Siberia, a massive explosion flattened some 2,000 square kilometers of trees, the Tunguska event. The cause? Likely a space rock less than 100 meters wide. Imagine one 10 times larger. 65 million years ago, a 10-kilometer-wide asteroid slammed into what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. In seconds, it unleashed energy greater than the combined nuclear arsenals of the modern world. Fires raged globally, the skies went dark, and in the months that followed, the dinosaurs, rulers of the Earth for over 160 million years, vanished forever. Today, we have telescopes, computer models, and early warning systems, but they have blind spots. Some asteroids come from directions where the sun blinds our instruments. Others are only spotted days or hours before they pass close by, and some we only notice after they've already flown past. If a large asteroid were on a collision course, the chain of events would be swift and merciless. The blast would vaporize cities, shockwaves would circle the globe, fires ignited by the heat would spread uncontrollably, dust and debris thrown into the atmosphere could block sunlight for months or years, collapsing global agriculture. Billions could starve. Civilization itself might not recover. But the threat from above is only half the story, because under our very feet lies a danger just as deadly, and perhaps even more inevitable. Beneath the serene landscapes of Yellowstone National Park lies a monster. A vast reservoir of molten rock, a magma chamber so large it could fill the Grand Canyon several times over. Geologists call it a supervolcano. Unlike the dramatic, cone-shaped volcanoes you might picture, a supervolcano doesn't build a towering peak. It sits low and wide, hiding in plain sight. When it erupts, it's not a river of lava that does most of the killing, it's the ash. Supervolcano eruptions are among the most violent events the Earth can produce. In Indonesia, around 74,000 years ago, the Toba supervolcano erupted with a force thousands of times greater than the largest nuclear bomb ever detonated. Ash clouds spread across the globe, blocking sunlight for years. Temperatures plummeted, crops failed. Some scientists believe humanity's population may have dropped to just a few thousand breeding pairs. We came perilously close to disappearing entirely. Yellowstone has erupted 3 times in the last 2 million years. On average, it erupts every 600,000 years. The last eruption? About 640,000 years ago. That's an uncomfortable statistic. If Yellowstone were to erupt today, ash would bury cities across North America. Air travel would halt. Power grids would collapse. The global climate would cool drastically, triggering years of food shortages. And unlike an asteroid, which we might detect decades in advance, a supervolcano could give us only days of warning before it blows. The scariest part is that Yellowstone isn't alone. There are other potential supervolcanoes: Campi Flegrei in Italy, Lake Taupo in New Zealand, and more. Each one is a ticking time bomb. But not all killers come from deep underground. Some are too small to see without a microscope, and yet they can change the world faster than any volcano. Throughout history, pandemics have shaped civilizations. In the 14th century, the Black Death swept through Europe, Asia, and Africa, killing up to 60% of the population in some regions. It wasn't just a health crisis, it reshaped economies, politics, even religion. In 1918, the Spanish flu infected roughly 1/3 of the global population. Estimates suggest it killed at least 50 million people, more than World War I, which had just ended. Cities were brought to a standstill, public gatherings were banned, coffins ran out. In 2020, COVID-19 reminded the modern world that pandemics are not relics of the past. In our age of air travel and global trade, a virus can circle the planet in less than 48 hours. Borders are meaningless to a microbe. The threat isn't just from nature. Viruses can escape laboratories or be engineered. Scientists warn of gain-of-function research, where pathogens are modified to study their potential impact. If one of these supercharged viruses leaked, the consequences could be catastrophic. Imagine a disease with the contagiousness of measles, the lethality of Ebola, and an incubation period that lets it spread silently before symptoms appear. Quarantines would be too late. Hospitals would collapse within weeks. The social and economic shockwaves could destabilize entire nations. And unlike an asteroid or a volcano, pandemics often come in waves. Just when you think it's over, a mutation emerges and the cycle begins again. But nature's arsenal has one more weapon for us, a weapon humans themselves helped create. It's not just death in an instant. It's the long, freezing darkness that follows. In the 1980s, during the height of the Cold War, a group of scientists led by Carl Sagan introduced the world to a terrifying concept: nuclear winter. They warned that even a limited nuclear exchange, a few hundred warheads, could trigger a chain reaction that would devastate the planet's climate. When nuclear weapons detonate over cities, the resulting firestorms consume everything combustible. Soot and ash are carried high into the stratosphere, where they spread globally. This layer of black particles blocks sunlight, plunging temperatures by as much as 15 degrees Celsius. The world would freeze, not instantly, but over months. Crops would fail, forests would die, oceans would cool, entire food chains would collapse, and humanity, already shattered by the war itself, would face starvation on a scale we can hardly imagine. Today, There are over 12,000 nuclear warheads in existence. Many are far more powerful than those dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they are controlled by a handful of governments that have come dangerously close to pressing the button in the past. It might not be a deliberate attack, a malfunctioning radar, a misunderstood warning. Even a cyber attack could spark a response that leads to global annihilation. Once the missiles fly, there's no calling them back. The truly nightmarish scenarios, however, are the ones where disasters do not happen in isolation. Picture this: an asteroid slams into the ocean, sending shock waves across continents. The impact triggers volcanic activity on a massive scale, filling the skies with ash. Crops fail, and famine spreads. As desperation grows, disease follows, a pandemic feeding on weakened populations. Then, amid the chaos, a regional war escalates into a nuclear exchange. History shows us that disasters can set off a chain of events, each feeding the next. The fall of one system can topple many others: ecosystems, economies, governments. The world is a web, and when one thread snaps, others soon follow. We've survived incredible challenges before: ice ages, plagues, meteor impacts. But survival has never been guaranteed. Each generation faces its own set of trials, and ours may be the most dangerous yet. In this episode, we've explored the threats that come from nature, forces beyond our control, written into the laws of physics and geology. In the next part of our journey, we'll turn our attention to a different kind of danger, the ones we've created ourselves. Because as powerful as nature is, humanity has become its own worst enemy. And sometimes, the end comes not from the stars above or the ground below, but from our own hands. Which do you fear more, the wrath of nature or the mistakes of humanity? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because in the next episode, we'll take you inside the man-made doomsday scenarios that could end civilization as we know it.